Hey everyone, I'm Enrique, I'm your reviewer, and once again, we are reviewing another episode of Creature Commandos. We're diving into episode 3 called Cheers for the Tin Man. So, yeah, let's unlock what makes this GI Robot centric episode one of the most emotional and memorable ones so far. I also should mention that this is coming out in the same week as another review for a certain superhero that just came out last week. So, yeah, depending on the time of this video, you're going to see some spoilers. So please don't spoil anything about this movie because I'm going to get into my thoughts and what I thought about the movie. But for now, let's talk about episode 3, Cheers for the Tin Man. So recall, in episode 2, we saw not only the bride and Nina getting pummeled by Circe, but also getting tied up in the mansion. So it's up to Rick Flag, Phosphorus, G.I. Robot, and Weasel, along with the soldiers from Polkovistan, in order to get to the mansion. And it turns out to be a trap. But not for them. You see, it was a distraction, a diversion for Rick Flag and his forces in order to get the princess, Ileana. So Circe put and restrained the bride and Nina in order to distract Rick Flag and the Commandos so she can get to the princess. And thus we see how the Commandos get to the place, trying to stop the forces, the Themyscira sons, and trying to find a way to stop Circe. And all the while, we see the focus where this episode lies to. Like I said before, this is also focusing on one of the Commandos, and this week, we're focusing on G.I. Robot. While the entire episode is about seeing the Creature Commandos trying to stop the forces in Circe, the true heart of the episode lies in G.I. Robot's backstory, how he became to be, showing us flashbacks about his time in World War II, serving the East Company with Sergeant Rock, which is a member of the comics, showing his origin as a combat bot, how he had camaraderie, the violence, also how he lived the rest of his lives, how he managed to survive all this time, the upgrades, the people he met. Everything that you saw in episode 3 is seeing G.I. Robot trying to basically adapt with the times, but still having the trouble of distinguishing people from the enemy. I'm not gonna say the enemy's name because, YouTube, but needless to say, he has left this survival's guilt, or, well, not necessarily survival's guilt, almost like his entire mission to, get rid of the enemy is still there. And even though he meets people he genuinely forms a bond with, when he realizes who they are, and that's very, very shocking and at the same time comedic to me, it shows that, G.I. Robot, despite everything, despite the years, he has one mission and one mission only: to destroy the enemy. Like I said, I'm not gonna say the enemy's name because, I don't want to get demonetized for saying its name. But regardless, we see the ideals of the G.I. Robot, his directives, and how he's forced to eliminate the enemy even though he formed a bond with. But that doesn't make him a monster. It just makes him someone who is basically trying to live up to, or trying to keep up with the real world, not realizing who's the enemy and who's the friend. And that's something that we saw in this episode. And that's something that I deeply appreciated and I enjoy immensely. And that's how he ended up in Belle Reve. He basically was doing the right thing, but the government didn't thought too much about it, or thought it was too dangerous, or too much of a massive weapon. So he was sent to jail. It's basically the only one of the robots that not only I'm going to see in this episode, but also in the next review about Superman, that makes me feel for a robot. Like him and Super Robot, Superman's robots number 4 will get along very, very well. But yeah, let's go back to the rest of the episode. The presentation of the animation is still top notch. Seeing how the Commandos deal with the Themyscira sons, the level of violence, the level of gore, because it's gore, guys. It's not for the faint of heart. It shows you the violence in full display. We see all the Commandos, well, the majority of them, because Nina doesn't do anything because, well, she's just a fish woman. But the Bride, Phosphorus, Weasel, G.I. Robot, all of them, they put the action, and all of them trying to get to the mansion the castle where Princess Ileana is. So, just as Circe is trying to kill the princess, that's where the Commandos hit, and the action is brutal. It's very brutal, but it's basically like the Bride says, you wanted monsters, you got them. And that's how we see it. And the climax of this entire episode is seeing not only G.I. Robot getting rid of the Themyscira sons, but also seeing him getting destroyed by Circe in the end. And while Circe is defeated by the Commandos, we see G.I. Robot finally fulfilling his promise about deleting or eliminating the enemy, and Nina, who form a bond with G.I. Robot throughout the 3 episodes, is left crying and tearing for him. And the last words of him saying cheers for the Tin Man hit hard for her. And that's something that I really enjoy, and that's something that we're going to see throughout the episodes, is the level of relatability that we see on the characters, how they developed, how they grew up, how they had their own backstories and tragedies. And G.I. Robot, despite not displaying any other emotion, just fulfilling his directive, is still touching, because what is a weapon without a purpose? I mean, what kind of purpose can you find? And we see that, and that's something that I really enjoy. So yeah, the climax was unbelievable. The animation by Jim Lee, it's amazing, and yeah, it's definitely good. But the episode doesn't end there, for as we see, Circe tells the Commandos that they doomed the world. And that's something that we're gonna get into in next week's episode, or the next time I do an episode of Creature Commandos. I like to vary my episodes when it comes to TV shows. This is kind of my thing. But regardless of what you think, it's important to tell you guys that, yeah, this is most definitely a great episode, a great dive into G.I. Robot. Oh, I should also mention, we see throughout the episode characters from DC Comics. In the cases of the World War II, we see Sergeant Rock. Now, he's basically a character from the comics as well during those times, along with other characters from World War II. But yeah, he's basically a character here, and in my opinion, well, not in my opinion, I heard rumors that we're trying to get a Sergeant Rock spin-off series, but we haven't heard anything, and there were dropouts, and we have to wait and see what happens next. But another cameo that we see is Will Magnus, the man who is repairing, or at the very least upgrading, G.I. Robot. All is a nod to Metal Men, which is a group of superheroes made by man, and they have their own story. Oh, and by the way, Will Magnus is voiced by Alan Tudyk as well. Yeah, Alan Tudyk not only voices Dr. Phosphorus, but he also voices Will Magnus, and in the Superman movie, robot number 4, the Superman robots number 4. It's ridiculous the level of diversity that this guy can play. I mean, Alan Tudyk is just hilarious. But yeah, that's overall the theme of and the tone of this episode is great. James Gunn emphasizes how unlikely the redemption and how a guy who loses his purpose can find heroism in other places, and shows us the tragedy of, despite winning, how you left without a purpose. So yeah, I really enjoy it. I hope you guys can enjoy it too. And yeah, I hope I can see more things in the next episode. But regardless, we have to wait. So yeah, like I said, tune in next week. No, sorry. Tune in Friday, as I'm going to review the movie that I was waiting to see the most. It's Superman time. My God, did I just say Superman time? Just wait and see my review. Until then, I'm Enrique, and I hope you enjoyed my review. Give a like, subscribe, get notifications, and I'll see you next time. Cheers to the Tin Man.